Hey, it's Maryanne with the Influential Nonprofit. I work with nonprofit leaders to grow their influence so they can grow their income and impact. And by influence, I mean getting people you have no authority over to do what you want them to do. And I bet there's people in your life that you have no authority over and you'd love to get them to do what you want them to do. And so, what I teach people are is awesome leadership and communication skills to grow their influence. And today we're going to talk about freezing and the concept of freezing. Now, freezing got its roots, or what I have read to be the roots in like trauma and healing. So sometimes people who have experienced trauma can freeze themselves in that time of their life. Now, freezing for me has a bit of an expanded meaning, and that just can just mean when somebody holds a perception of you of a certain time or place or action that you did in the past, and they have frozen you there, or you freeze someone, you see someone, and no matter what they show you or tell you, you still see them as that person that you thought they were or think they are, right? So I'm going to give you an example. I froze someone. I didn't realize I did it till yesterday, and I'm listening to the sports radio, because I'm a girl like that. And I said, hey, they were talking about a certain basketball coach who is probably going to go to another NBA team. And I was like, and that coach coached at my college many years ago, probably 20 years ago. And there was a bit of a scandal there many years ago. And I still remember that person associated with that scandal. Now, this person has had an incredibly successful career since then. And yet in my mind, he's that person that's that scandal. I've frozen him in time. And no matter what he's accomplished, I'm not sure I believe it, because I believe that this version of him is the real version of him. 100%. I didn't realize I did it until yesterday. I like that as an example of freezing. And we can often freeze celebrities, sports people. Like they're not that because they were that because they used to be like this. So they're always going to be like this, because that helps our brain understand things, right? And create predictable scenarios, even when things aren't very predictable. Okay, so that's an example of how you can freeze someone. And I want to share how I've gotten freezed, and this is why I'm talking about this with you, because it is so frustrating how you can get freezed and how you can get out of it. So you may have gotten frozen. Let's say you started at your job and maybe there was a few bumps in the road in the first 6 months or a year, and somebody somewhere in your organization has attached that you are that person. And no matter what you've accomplished since then, no matter what you've done, they still see you as the person you were when you started. You never got a chance to grow or expand in their mind, right? They always are going to see you as like, well, no, they're this person. And no matter what you do, you can't shift off of them. And I have this relationship that is a very, I would say loose one out in just my life. But I'm just going to share the story because this is a true example of freezing. I used to live in this neighborhood, and I used to go to this neighborhood place, a little restaurant place. It was kind of our default place, right? If we didn't have any place to go, we go here. And we wound up going there probably once a week for many years. We lived in this neighborhood, and since we moved out, but we lived close by. And at one point, and I'm not sure of the night in question, but I want to say it was probably between 2003 and 2006. I apparently was not a kind person to a server at this restaurant. Maybe there was a lot of hiccups that night. Maybe I was, really was just, maybe stressed or just wanted to kick back and it just wasn't going my way. I do not remember this specific incident, but this server does. And she sees me as this very demanding person. I'm not saying I wasn't at that moment. No matter how much grace, no matter how much patience, no matter how much listening and empathizing I do, she will bring up this instant and remind me of who she believes I really am, but like in a joking way. So I placed a drink order and she was like, oh yeah, you don't want to get that drink order wrong. Like, yep, because one time in 2004, I got my drink order. You got my drink order wrong. Or she'll say like, well, because you're so opinionated or something like that. And I just breathe I just breathe because there's really not a lot I can do. I'm not going to say that. Let me rewind. I could invest the time and energy it would take to shift her thinking or just let it go. Because, like I said, I don't know her that well. She's not a part of my work or my family. But it's just frustrating because I'm still living in the past of this experience and know how much compassion or care I give her, I'm still actually that person that I showed her in that thing and that night in that moment. And that's what happens. We see somebody in a moment and we capture that moment, we take a picture and we freeze them. And you know, here's the thing. I can be incredibly kind and super bossy. I can be super responsible and super wild. And we all get the full 88 keys. But when we freeze somebody, we deny them of the full expanse of expression. And we think anything beyond what we believe them to be is in not the truth. And we know the truth, and they are not actually living their truth. And this can be really damaging for us and for other people because we're not allowing people around us to grow and develop. We're not seeing the next evolution of people and recognizing them for that. And then people are also holding us, down and and keeping us frozen in a specific place and time. So if you're being frozen by someone, first I want you to look and say, okay, what is this showing me? Because it starts internal, right? What is this showing me? Who is this? What is this showing me about myself? Who could I be freezing in my life? Who could I be doing this to? I'm really thinking about the people in your life. Who is this? Because people show up and do things and they jump into us for a reason. And the reason is to show us something we need to see in ourselves. And I'll say our expanded self or higher self will show us these things so that we can learn more about ourselves. So why is this person showing up? Like, well, first thing is do your check. Who am I freezing? Who am I freezing? Because when I can acknowledge that, then I can open up the possibility of what's happening to me and owning more of what's happening to me. So that's my check. First, am I freezing somebody? Second, is this relationship worth the investment? You can say yes or no. If it's a coworker or a boss or a board member, you might want to dive in, or a family member. If it's somebody like, what, they can see me who they want, that's fine. Whatever. You can talk to them. Now, sometimes I think, should I talk to this person about this? Because when she walks into the place we hang out at now, I'm like, oh, you know, and I think about like pushing back a little bit, like, you're always bringing this up, but then I'm just gonna, she's gonna see, she's gonna keep bringing up till I get mad, and then I turn into that dominating, opinionated person that she thinks I am all the time. I just work on being patient and seeing it as, hey, this is just this thing, and I'm just going to neutralize it. And you can totally choose to do that. Or you could say, listen, this is something that I really need to either unfreeze someone and talk to them about it, or have somebody shift their perception and unfreeze me. And if you decide to do that, then that's when you have the honest conversation of, hey, I would love to talk to you about whatever, our relationship, my work, how you see me functioning, blah, blah, blah. But I'm going to use the example of the employee and the board member who froze her in time when she just started her job and she wasn't very good. And she could say, hey, I just want to talk with you, like, and what I like to do in these conversations is get people talking about whatever. Get them talking about, hey, the relationship to the organization, the relationship to you. How do you think I'm doing my job? Where do you see the opportunities going in the future? Just to get them talking so I can see where they're coming from, what their frame of reference is, what the context is. And then what I'm looking for is sort of an opening of something that like I could pull from them to then, so that I could and match what I want to talk about with what they're talking about. So let's use the board member as an example. And the board member says, yeah, and you've grown so much. And because I remember when you started, and you could say, wow, I'm so glad you brought that up, because that's one of the things I wanted to talk to you about is, how I was when I started and what I've accomplished now. And sometimes I feel like you're still seeing me as that person that just started. And it's a little bit frustrating for me. I'm not sure you recognize what I've accomplished since I've been here. And then you stop talking and let it land. Like, just stop talking and let's see what they say. All you can do is bring it to their attention. And you don't have to explain this concept. You don't have to talk about freezing, just say, it feels like you still see me as that person. And for me, that's a little frustrating because I've really just grown over the years. And I'm so proud of what you and I both have accomplished together. And I would love for you to be able to recognize that in me and see what they say. Now, a lot of times you can just let people have their opinion of you, right? Like what people think about you is none of your business, and that's okay. And you can just let it ride. But other times, if you think it's affecting your work performance, if it's affecting your ability to do business, your ability to like have a relationship, your ability to, manage, navigate your family, then certainly you can talk to people about it. And that's your choice to do. Whatever you do, release the outcome before you go in, right? Because they're either going to get it or not. And either way, you're going to be okay. If you want to try to convince them of something, they're going to start getting defensive. And I've talked about that in the past, and I'll continue to talk about that in the future. Just being just open to whatever the conversation brings. And if you come to a resolution, great. If not, that's okay too. You tried. But that is the power of the freeze. So I want you to just think about in your life, who have you frozen? Who is freezing you? Is it worth your time and energy to work to reframe that relationship? But mostly just being conscious of when you do it, because when you do it, and you stop doing it to other people, you're giving people that permission to stop doing it to you. And it starts with you, right? I can't ask somebody to up level and be better unless I'm willing to go first. So number one, the first step is to look at and say, am I freezing people in my life? And if I am, how can I unfreeze them? How can I learn? Now that I'm aware of it, I can see them for the full body of their experience. I can believe who they are instead of who I think they are or who I need them to be. I can believe who they truly are and how they truly present themselves. And once I do that, then I allow people to do that to me. But you have to do it first. All right. So that's what I have to say about freezing. I would love, love, love to hear if you've frozen anybody, if anybody's frozen you. You can always email me at maryanne@maryannedersch.com. If you're new to my podcast and you haven't gotten it yet, you will want to get the Uplevel Your Influence Starter Kit. You can go to theinfluentialnonprofit.com. You can download your Uplevel Your Influence Starter Kit. I have an ebook called Stop Sitting Back and Start Making Change. And it's a lot of the concepts that I talk about on this website or in that book. And it's in that ebook, and it's really awesome. I also have a guide for how to have difficult conversations. So when you're going to approach somebody about, maybe not unfreezing you, you can use this guide to sort of do it. You can, it's really applicable to any situation where you want to gently open somebody up to a new way of thinking. And, that's pretty much it for me. So now that spring is springing and the fall of winter is dissipating, we can stop freezing people and start seeing people and believing who they tell us they are. All right. I will see you next time on the Influential Nonprofit.